So this lesson we're going to be looking at solving equations but using integers in those equations. And we're going to look at it using two different methods, both that you're familiar with by now, one using number lines and the other using our rules. So as usual, when you get to a slide with all of these steps, you should most certainly pause the video and write down all of these steps in your notebooks, because if you don't write them down, then you can't refer to them if you need them going forward. Once you've done these enough times, you won't have to refer to the rules, but you should still have these in your notebook. So again, pause the video here and copy all of this down. Okay, so here we are with a couple of equations that we need to solve. As you can see, there's integers here, and we're going to look at solving these both ways. So the first thing I do want to do is, in the steps that you wrote down, we used our method of solving equations that we've been doing pretty much all year. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to ask myself, what's the opposite of this, opposite of 5? Well, you have to think about it as positive 5. And of course, the opposite of that would be negative 5 or minus 5. I do that on both sides. These cancel. D, I'm going to put D right here. Whoops, certainly didn't mean to do that. Get my marker back here. So D is what I'm left with, and that's going to be equal to, now this says negative 12 minus 5. So I get to now do the math cha-cha-cha, which is very fun, as you probably already know. Probably haven't been able to do that all that much yet, but here we go. So we've got stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Wasn't that fun? Obviously. And now I've got an addition problem, so I can convert over to my signs are the same, find the sum. Of course, I'm finding the sum of both of these, both of their absolute values, I should say. So I've got 12 plus 5, which we know is 17. And the original signs of both of them are negative, so my answer is negative 17. So that works. Now we should also know that we can solve this on a number line. So I'm just going to draw my number line. I'm not going to put anything on the number line yet, because I want to show you. We'll use our start, face, move, end. This time we're given the start and the end. We're not given the stuff in the middle, so that's what we're looking for. So we know the start is 5, and we know the end is negative 12. So if I want to put those on my number line, I'm not going to put my start in the center, because I know which direction I'm going in. I don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my 5 right there, and I'm going to put my negative 12 down here where I know it belongs. And I'm going to say that my 0 is probably right about here. So that's how I'm going to start, by drawing the number line and the things that I know, the start and the end. What I don't know is my face and my move. So let me switch colors here so that we can see how that happens. So I know that I'm starting here on the 5. And I have to decide which way I'm going to face. Well, they gave us which way to face right here when they told us that we're adding. So whenever we add, we face to the right. So I know I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. Then I know I'm going to move from the 5, because that's where I'm starting, down to where I need to end, where the negative 12 is. So as you saw me move, I moved backwards, so that's in this direction. I'm moving back. And the only other thing I'm left to find out is how far I moved, the distance between the two. Remember, distance is independent of the sign. So I'm really just looking how far is it between the 5 and the negative 12. Well, I know from 0 to 5, that's 5. And I know from 0 to negative 12, that's 12. So that means I know I moved 12 plus 5, which is 17. I moved back 17. So remember, the thing that I'm looking for is what I'm moving. What I'm missing here is the D. So this is what I'm looking for. So back 17 We know back means negative, and of course that's 17. So you'll see both methods here I got the same exact answers, which you would expect, but again, you can use whichever method you find easier to do, that you understand, because we all look at things a little bit differently, so you get to choose which way you'd like to do it. So let's look at this next one. I've got 8 plus w equals -1. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so I'm going to use my, I'm going to use my normal way of doing this. I need to make sure everything's balanced. I want that w to be by itself, so I have to say to myself, what's the opposite of 8? The opposite of 8, of course, is -8 or -8. Don't forget, those really mean the same thing. So these two cancel. I'm left with w equals -1 minus 8. So I'm going to get to sing my cha-cha-cha. Don't forget to cha-cha-cha or you get it wrong. So I stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. And now I notice that the signs are the same. Find the sum. So I have to find the absolute value of both of these numbers. The absolute value of 1. -1 is 1. The absolute value of -8 is 8. I'm finding the sum of both of those, and that would give me 9. They share the same sign to begin with, so that of course was -9. You should see how this is working out here, and notice that it's basically the same, but again, we always want to have more than one example. So now let's look at this on the number line. Here's my number line. I know I've got my start and my end. I'm looking for my face and my move, which, by the way, we'll use it in a different way moving forward. But we're not going to worry about that right now. So we're starting at 8, and we're ending at -1. So I know I'm going to start at 8. I'm going to end at -1. I know that my 0 is going to be very close to that -1. I'm going to put it here. So, next thing, where did I start? I started at 8. Whoops, that was a little bit off. Let me move that. I started at 8. I know I'm facing to the right because I'm adding. And now I just need to get to the -1. I'm going to do that by moving in this direction and ending here, right? So if I'm moving in this direction, that means I'm going to, I'm facing to the right already, so I'm moving back. How far did I move back? Well, this of course is 8, and I've got another 1 here, so 1 plus 8 is 9, and that gets me to my -1. I should now know that this is my answer. Back means it's negative, and it's a 9. There you go, -9. So again, you can use either one, but you really should be ending with both. Okay, so next thing we're going to do here, similar but different. We've got -2 plus some number equals 13. So if I set these down the center, I know that gives me the opposite of -2 is +2, so I've got +2 here and +2 here. So -2 plus 2, you should know that those both cancel each other out. So I'm left over here with x equals, that's 13 plus 2, which that's a simple one to do, is 15. We want to look at this on the number line. Here we are. I've got my start, my face, my move, and then of course the end. They gave us the start, it's -2, and the end is 13. I'm going to put both of those on my number line, -2. I know the 0 is pretty close to that. I'm going to put my -13 way down here. So I'm going to start on -2, just like I'm told to. which I'm facing, I'm adding, so I'm facing to the right. I'm going to move in this direction to get to the negative 13. So if I'm moving, facing to the right and moving to the right, that of course means I'm moving forward. Just how many far did I move? Well, I moved 2 here, plus another 13 here, so 2 plus 13 is 15. So there, of course, is my answer, which is positive, positive 15. Next problem. I'm going to take my usual first step. What's the opposite of minus 9 or negative 9? That would be plus 9 on both sides. So I noticed that the first one here would cancel. So I'm left with n equals 4 plus 9, you should know, is 13. Easy enough. Next one, let's do this on my number line. Here's my number line. I know I've got my start, face, move, and end. I'm going to start, of course, at negative 9, and I need to end at 4. So my negative 9, I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to put my 4 here. I know my 0 has to be closer to the 4 than the negative 9, so I'm going to put that there. And then we start at negative 9. That's right here. We're adding face to the right. I'm going to now move towards the 4, which means I'm moving forward, which is where I'm going to end. How far did I move? I need to look at these two distances. From negative 9 to 0 is 9. From 0 to 4 is 4. I add those two together. I get forward 13, which is in fact the answer, which means that the answer is positive, I keep doing that, positive 13. Same answers both times. Moving right along. I've now got some problems here that I'm going to be, they're going to be looking a little bit different. So here we go. We've got, first step is always the same. What's the opposite of 3? That, of course, is minus 3. Minus 3. Oh my goodness, why would I make that a 13? Let me fix that. Okay, sorry. That's minus 3. Okay, so I know that my 3 minus 3, those two cancel out. So that leaves me with f equals negative 16 minus 3. You get to do the cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. The signs are the same. Find the sum. Absolute values. Absolute value of negative 16 is 16 because it's 16 units away from 0. Plus the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. That's how far it is from 0. 16 plus 3, of course, is 19. And I look at my sign. My original sign was negative, so my final answer is negative 19. Next, of course, we're going to be looking at this on the number line. So here's my number line. I know that I'm going to start face, move, and end. I'm going to start at 3, and I need to end at negative 16. So let's put both of those on our number line. Here's my 3. Here's my negative 16. Of course, my 0 is much closer to my 3, so I'm going to put that there. Next, I know that I'm starting here at the 3. And I'm going to be facing to the right because this is an addition problem. Here I am facing to the right. And to get to the negative 16, I have to move in this direction, which is back from where I was. I need to end on my negative 16. So I'm moving back, so that's my B for back. How far did I move? Well, 0 to 3 is 3. 0 to negative 16 is 16. 16 plus 3 is 19. Therefore, I moved back 19, which makes my final answer negative 19. And again, they are the same. So, again, you don't have to do them both, but you need to understand them both. Next problem. We've got 18 plus negative 8. Again, at some point here, you really want to pause these and start doing them on your own and then checking your work if you haven't already done that. So, what's the opposite of 18? That would be minus 18. I do that on both sides. 18 minus 18, the two of those cancel. I'm left with r equals negative 8 minus 18. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. And then the signs are the same. Find the sum. So absolute values of both of them, because I'm going to be finding, well, it doesn't matter if I'm finding their sum or their difference. So absolute value of negative 8. Negative 8 is 8 away from 0. Finding the sum, so I'm going to add those together. So absolute value of 18, negative 18 is 18. 8 plus 18. Well, if I forget about the 10 out of the 18 for a moment, I know 8 plus 8 is 16. I didn't actually really forget about that 10, so that makes my answer 26. And they're both negative to begin with, so my answer here is negative 26. I wonder if I'm going to get the same thing on my number line. What do we think? Here we are. We start face, move, and end. We're starting, of course, at 18. We're going to end, of course, on negative 26. That is not true. I was looking at the wrong thing. Sorry about that. That's why I always check my work. I want to end at, of course, negative 8. So my start is at 18. My end is over here at negative 8. My 0, of course, is going to be closer to the negative 8. I'm going to put my 0 right about here. And then let's see what's next. I'm going to start at my 18. I have to decide which way to face. I'm facing to the right. Here I am facing to the right. I need to get to negative 8, which means I'm going to move in this direction. This direction is back. I know I'm moving back. How far did I move back? Well, from 0 to negative 8 is 8. From 0 to 18 is 18. I add those together, which is exactly what I did up above. I know 8 plus 18 is going to give me 26. So my answer right here, back 26, is going to give me negative 26. Good stuff here. Okay, so here we are again. And next thing I'm going to say to myself is, what is the opposite of negative 7? The opposite of negative 7, of course, is plus 7. Do that on both sides. These two cancel. I'm left with J equals 8 plus 7 is 15. Easy peasy there, but we do want to see it on the number line just so that we really truly understand what's going on here. So here's my start, face, move, end. I know I'm starting at negative 7, and I know I need to end at 8. So my start is over here, negative 7. I know I'm ending over here at 8. My 0 is really close to being in the middle, slightly to the left, closer to the 7. But again, these are sketches. They aren't perfect as far as, like, you know, if I were to put all the tally marks in, or tick marks. So here we are. I'm going to start at negative 7. I'm adding, so I'm going to face to the right. I'm going to move towards the 8, which is in this case forward. I'm moving forward. How far? Well, from 7 to 0 is 7. From 0 to 8 is 8. And 7 plus 8, of course, is 15. And that gives me my answer, which in this case is positive 15, which again we found up top. Last problem, and if you haven't stopped to pause this and try some on your own, you really need to do that now. So here we are. I've got negative 19. What's the opposite of that? That would be positive 19 or plus 19. Hopefully you all have gotten beyond that. They really mean the same thing here, folks. So my negative 19 plus 19 cancels out. I'm left with G equals 11 plus 19. Well, 11 plus 19, I know 1 plus 19 gives me 20, and then there's another 10 more, so that gives me positive 30 as my answer. I am going to go right to my number line, make sure that we get the same thing. At this point, you should be pretty sure we're going to get the same thing. So here we got my start face, move and end. I start at negative 19. I'm going to end at positive 11, or just 11, it doesn't matter, as you know. I'm going to get those on my number line. Here's my negative 19, which I know has to be to the far left. My positive 11 is over here. I know that my 0 should be somewhere around here. Okay, so now I'm facing to the right because I'm adding from my start position. So my start position is here, facing to the right. I move towards my end, which is at 11. I'm moving in that direction, which is forward. From negative 19 to 0, that's 19 spaces. From 0 to 11, that's 11 spaces. 19 plus 11 is still 30, just like it was above. And there is my answer. And my answer is forward, which is positive 30. Good stuff. Hopefully you got lots of examples here.